So I've said it before, and I'll say it again, because it's amazing how many lines from other episodes of this series can end up in future episodes. And that is, as much as we want it to be about the drivers, Formula 1 is very much a team sport. Now, team orders have been in the sport since the 1950s. Drivers giving up their car so their teammate could continue racing if theirs had an issue. Valtteri, it's James, Fernando is faster than you, let Michael through for the championship, if we race we'll end up with nothing, and so on. Some see it as being part and parcel of a team-based championship. Some people hate them more than Galileo hated geocentrics. Probably. But in the early part of the 2013 season, almost 10 years ago now, team orders were issued, ignored, and then turned things frostier than a dinner party involving Piers Morgan and Meghan Markle. Anyway, the 2013 F1 season. The final year of V8 engine F1 cars. The final year F1 visited India and Korea, and also the year that spelled the end of the Sebastian Vettel years and Red Bull's early decade dominance. It was also the year that 5 drivers made their F1 debuts: Esteban Gutierrez, Valtteri Bottas, Max Chilton and Jules Bianchi. And to think only one of that rookie intake is left. Okay, one was lost through tragic circumstances, but still. The big talking points were for the sport to hopefully have another season like 2012, 7 winners in as many races and stuff like that. The other was the motorsport media having a collective head scratch because Lewis Hamilton had left McLaren to join Mercedes, with one person in the media comparing it to leaving Manchester United to join West Ham. Hamilton became totally anonymous and that move was all for nothing. Huh? What's that? How many wins? 103! Mental! What's also mental is that in the description to this video is an affiliate link with the official F1 store. If you buy anything using that link, then I'll get a little bit of a kickback and you'll get some swish new gear in time for the new F1 season, which starts tomorrow. I mean, you'll have it for round 2 in wherever it is. And the season opened with Raikkonen winning the Australian Grand Prix, despite the triple world champion Vettel banging in a pole time 4/10 of a second faster than his teammate and 6/10 faster than Hamilton, who was third. Maybe we were going to get that copy of 2012 after all, because that was what everyone wanted F1 to be at the time, and you could argue even now. I think Red Bull dropped the ball on strategy or something in that race, left Vettel out for 7 laps longer than was needed. Either way, it was just one race, still 18 to go. For the Malaysian Grand Prix, just the second round of the season, Vettel went better than he had done in Australia and managed to outqualify Massa by nearly a full second, while Webber was only 5th. But a rainstorm before the race caused some issues as Bottas slid off the road at a very wet turn 3, and some other drivers had problems driving to the grid as well. But before the race started, the track was dry enough for an intermediate tyre start. Vettel got away well and led into the first corner. Alonso misjudged Vettel's braking point and accidentally tagged the back of the Red Bull, causing the Ferrari's front wing to start flapping about a little bit. But Ferrari being Ferrari, they decided to leave Alonso out and not bother changing it because, well, it's still on, isn't it? It detached as he started lap 2. It then got stuck under the car and he ended up in the gravel at turn 1. Alonso tried to get the marshals to put him back on the track so he could continue as his engine was still running, but they had to leave him where he was. Webber by this point had gone from 5th to 2nd. Vettel then pitted for mediums at the end of lap 4, but Webber stayed out as turn 3 was still too dangerous for dry tyres. He pitted on lap 7, Hamilton on lap 8, and Hamilton hilariously went to the wrong pit box as he forgot he'd shifted teams in the off-season. It was one of those races where it was going to be really iffy off the drying line. Maldonado lost it on a wet patch and went off and damaged his front wing, but unlike Alonso, was able to get back to the pits. By the end of lap 15, Webber led Vettel by about 2.2 seconds or so, because Webber had managed to get to the front of the field through things happening. Webber would then pit again at the end of the next lap. Vettel was put into the lead until he came in on lap 22. By lap 25, Vettel on fresher tyres had been catching Webber and was in DRS range. But Vettel's engineer Rocco told Vettel to back off through certain parts of the track, particularly through turns 5, 6, 7 and 8 to make sure that the tyres didn't overheat, especially now that Vettel was within half a second of the other Red Bull and in dirty air. If you thought tyres got nuked now, those ones were worse. Pit cycle 3 was around lap 30. Hamilton pitted first, then Webber and Rosberg came in the next lap. Vettel was in at the end of lap 32, and Webber, who had come out in 5th, started making his way to the front again, taking the lead from Button on lap 35. Hamilton meanwhile was told to conserve fuel as the Mercedes couldn't match the Red Bull's pace without burning too much, and had to settle in 3rd while the 2 Red Bulls pulled away. On lap 42, the final pit stops were made. Webber was on a set of used tyres while Seb's were brand new. Webber was able to hold Seb off for a bit until Red Bull issued those words that have now become, well, legendary. Multi-21, which basically means hold position, car 2 ahead of car 1, turn down your engines, and let's just coast to the end. Bring the cars home, that kind of thing. But Seb had other ideas. On lap 46, Vettel tried to overtake Webber down the pit straight, but Webber defended by squeezing the other car towards the pit wall, a little like how Schumacher had done to Barrichello at Hungary in 2010. Webber defended through the outside of turn 1 to have the inside for 2, but Vettel got the better run out of turn 3 and had Webber done on the exit of turn 4. Christian Horner was heard over the radio saying, "This is silly, Seb, come on." Webber made an attempt to get by on the next lap, but Seb's tyres were too fresh and he just pulled away. When I say he pulled away, he won by about 4 seconds or so. But after the race, it was peak pantomime villain Seb, as opposed to Jedi Master Seb that we saw for the last couple of years. In the cool-down room though, Webber just looked at him and said, "Multi-21 Seb, multi-21." Sebastian just ignored him. It's said it was done for a multitude of reasons. Number 1 was because of the way Webber had squeezed Seb at the start of the previous year's Brazilian Grand Prix, which caused him to lose ground and get tagged by Bruno Senna, almost losing him the World Championship. On top of this, Mark was told to let Seb through at some point during that same race, with the order being multi-12, to which Webber responded with, "What switch is that?" On the podium, Vettel was trying not to look happy with the win, while Webber was doing everything in his power to pretend Seb wasn't there. Webber also said in the press conference that Seb would be protected by Red Bull despite ignoring the order to hold station, while Vettel said that if he was given another team order that didn't benefit him, he'd ignore it. He also said, "Obviously I realised in the moment that there was quite a conflict. On the one hand I am the kind of guy who respects team decisions, but on the other hand Mark is not the one who deserved it at that time. The bottom line is, I was racing. I was faster. I passed him. I won." It was such a big thing at the time that even the Queen was aware of it. At a lunch at Buckingham Palace where Christian Horner was in attendance, the Queen asked Christian, "What's wrong with your drivers? Don't they get on?" Horner thinks it was payback for the squeeze at the Brazilian Grand Prix that happened 4 months prior, saying, "You've got a situation where Mark's in the car ahead, Sebastian on new tyres behind, the tyres were pretty fragile, we're telling them right hold position, and Sebastian thought, fuck you." Vettel, on the other hand, was quite annoyed by what Mark had said on the podium and lost all respect for him as a person. At the same time, Dietrich Mateschitz, whom Webber had a good relationship with, asked Webber to give him a full written account of what had happened so he could clear up all the mess that had been left as a result of the damage to the brand because of this whole thing that had been played out on live international TV. It later transpired that Christian Horner hadn't even bothered to reprimand, let alone fine Seb for what had happened, and when asked why, Christian told Mark's wife Anne, who's also his manager, "We didn't do it because the lawyers got involved. The lawyers are saying we gave Seb an unreasonable instruction." Vettel flew back to England and apologised in person to the staff in Milton Keynes, while any apology to Webber was more, "Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry you were so slow." Like I said, peak panto villain Seb. The Sebastian Vettel we all wanted to punch. Now we all want to buy him a pint. Actually, the Vettel now is the one you'd buy a pint for, but the one back then is the one that you'd smash the pint glass in the face of. Red Bull later paid both Webber and Vettel a win bonus, but the damage had been done to irreparable levels. Webber never won another race, and he left Red Bull at the end of the season to drive for Porsche in the World Endurance Championship. Webber says his only regret about the whole thing is not turning the engine back up when the order came through, but whether this is Aussie humour or something he would have actually done, that's down for us to work out. But they seem to be on way better terms now though, time healing wounds and all that. So then a look at Multi-21, almost 10 years to the day since, well, Multi-21. Do you remember this happening? Were you quite annoyed by what had happened? Or do you think that Seb was in the right to do what he did? Let me know down in the comments and get a discussion going. And while scrolling down, like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff, bell. I think you know the gist by now. Massive thanks to the kind folk at Patreon for the support, and if you want to help out with image purchases or just want to help keep things running around here, there's a link in the description to Patreon along with my socials. Or there's super thanks as well if you just want to leave a tip. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind, have a great day wherever you are, and I'll see you all soon for another video. Goodbye.